Depreciation, car owners hate it, car buyers love it. What cars can you get for 70% off their original price? That's today on After Drive. Come back after the drawbridge. Welcome to After Drive. We are back after a hiatus. Michael Priccinello, Zach Mosley from Classic Car Club Manhattan are with us today, of course. And welcome back, gentlemen.
Yeah, great to be here. Hi.
Yeah,
It's great to be here.
Always.
Very exciting.
Yeah, we're redoing or sort of updating a show that we did a couple of years ago about depreciation.
Kind of makes me feel like we're an institution.
Well,
Yeah, we've been doing this for a while, you know?
Yeah.
I know.
Setting
it's like,
trends.
I mean,
breaking
but
hearts.
Messing up prices for
Here's-
people that want
Yeah.
NSXs for a decade.
here's the crazy thing. I want to show you guys, and we'll put it up, what I looked like last time we did this show.
Oh.
Oh, man.
I just want to show you. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, that was Heavy Metal Parking Lot Mike Spinelli.
Dude, it's so funny because I cut it and I haven't looked back since.
I've noticed that this show has been a living documentation of all of my horrible white trash haircuts.
Well, you
I'm
did,
all right with that.
but then you did tilted hat on the last one.
I always do tilted hat.
I'm basically
I was
always
rocking
the
a
same.
mullet on the last
The
one.
same forever.
Zach is like open shirt. See, I figured I'd do the Zach, like I'd do my blip shift,
Good messages for kids.
stain spool shirt, and you know, I'm sort of like following the Zach model.
Yeah, well, so anyways, now we get all the static. Last time we did this, it was 50% cars you could buy for 50% of their asking price. And there
Right.
was some awesome machinery in there. Now there's stuff that's equally as awesome you can get for 70%.
Like 70 to 75% off.
Yeah.
In fact,
However,
Some even,
most
like-
things are so much more expensive now.
yeah.
Like
That's true.
our picks, they're gems.
Well, that's interesting because we started looking at these. We had this conversation a couple of weeks ago because we were looking at real classic cars, 911s,
Right.
you know, BMW CSLs and that kind of stuff.
Right, yeah.
That were so much more now
Yeah.
than they were when we shot the show last time.
Like so many more things. We
Yeah.
we just got our third Alpha GTV at the Classic Car Club.
Yeah.
Like those are really expensive. Like
Yeah.
things are shockingly expensive.
I think
Shockingly.
The first one we bought for 17 grand.
Yeah.
And now the car we have is probably 55.
That's amazing
It's
because
incredible.
I wanted
It's
to
the
buy
same
that
car.
one.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to buy that one. I didn't have enough, and it was like, yeah, it was like
Yeah.
16 or 17.
Yeah, we tried
grand.
to pawn that one off on you, didn't we? Yeah, it was.
You
You-
would have
there was
thanked us
Quite a
now.
good car, yeah.
There
see?
were, yeah, I know. There were a couple of cars. There was that one and the Dino.
So yeah,
that,
classics are going up.
308 Dinos.
308 Dinos.
What? So
Right.
expensive.
They were in the 20s when I mean, this was like 3 or 4 years ago we shot that thing. Those were going for 25 grand. Now they're going for 60
Yep.
and 70 and 308s and 328s. Anyway, so
Let's not lament on the expensive stuff.
So
Yes.
classics going up, new cars going up too. I mean, again, when we were talking about this, a really good top quality sports car could be had brand new in the 70s was sort of the benchmark, 70, 80
Right.
grand. Now, spec out a 911 with anything beyond
$130,000.
basic options, and you're 120, 130 grand. So everything's going up, which makes all this stuff that much more attractive, especially when you compare it to its original asking price.
Right.
totally. Now, obviously, the caveat to buying a modern classic car is that it's depreciated for a reason, right? It's depreciated because it's off warranty. They're enormously expensive to fix. I don't know if you guys saw this. This is sort of the pitfalls of depreciated cars in one incident. So this guy bought an R-Class AMG Mercedes. I mean, totally depreciated in the 20s. And
500 horsepower minivan, by the way, just to clarify for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about.
Exactly,
Yeah.
like sort of the unicorn minivan for a lot of
Yeah.
motoring journalists and the rest of us.
It sounds like a jackass mobile to me.
Well, okay.
Anyway.
So he bought it,
Yeah.
and then the engine went right after he bought it, and I think they quoted him something like 22 grand to replace it. He did it himself. The guy is a modern classic hero.
I know who you mean. Yeah.
We'll put the link in the
Yeah.
bottom and some pics up.
Yeah,
but,
I remember
But
that.
like that guy is the hero of the stuff that we're talking about. The hero of the depreciated car world.
Well, that's the way with any. I mean, we're talking about cars that are nearly classics now. So that's the way with any classic. You got to roll up your sleeves and do it yourself. If you take it back to the dealer, all the dealer's going to do is replace major major parts that they buy new from the factory.
As
which
we
will
say,
be,
they don't mend, they just replace.
Yeah.
So you're buying the
so
piece to
so
stick it
so
in.
you will be subscribing yourself to mending your cars. I'm doing it myself now.
Like you did with the sensors in your Jag.
Yeah, like the Jag.
Get them rebuilt.
Well, I mean, the Jag was a great example.
Yeah.
You know, I went on the forum, found a guy that rebuilt the modules, right? So the modules are one of those things from you buy a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old car. One of the things that goes is the circuit boards just, you know, they get corroded, moisture gets into the module, all this crap happens to them, and they're really expensive to replace.
Yeah.
So good point on the AMGs, and actually that's something that's been grating at me for a while. Not saying I'm selling an AMG right now, I might be. But,
Are you?
but if I was, I would be astonished.
If you were, you're on the wrong side of the equation.
I know, because,
Which you
because I
are.
bought it midway depreciation. Still great value. So C63 AMG, I bought it maybe 2 years ago for 35, 38 grand. It was spec'd up. It was probably a $75,000-ish car, maybe more. And now all the money for it is 22 grand. And like, that's astonishing to me. And you know, the same 6.3 liter V8 that you can get in the Mercedes AMG, SLS AMG, is in this car. You know, slightly detuned, 450 horsepower, but what a machine for, can I say that?
And not even
for
the
the
numbers
money.
of it.
It
That
would-
is like essentially a new car. You get inside, the seats are massaging, the heat, like everything is.
Yeah.
If you were with your friend who's not a car person, they would assume that is a brand new car.
Yeah. Well, what's
great.
also cool about it is that, you know, kind of like how air-cooled 911s are really sought after, that's the last naturally aspirated AMG, you know, the real solid AMG V8. So
Yeah, not so dissimilar from the last round we did this at the 50%. We kind of realized when we got through the list, it was all the great last of the analog versions of the cars. I think last time it was a C06, Z06, an E90 M3, you know, before electric steering, before turbochargers, superchargers, all that stuff. And that car's in the same era.
Yeah.
And if the back seat was big enough to put 3 kids across the back, I would have kept it myself.
Yeah.
It's really incredible
well,
car.
it's interesting because we talked about the Z06 in the 50% depreciation show years ago, and that thing is still at 50%. It hasn't gone to 70%.
Right.
So
buy them when we pick them, and you won't lose any money.
you won't
Is
lose
that
any
right?
money. Apparently so on that, one at least.
I would say like cars right now from the 80s and 90s, like, so our age, like when we were kids, the cars that were cool when we were kids are now like, they're still pretty kind of cheap generally, but like those are going to be super future classics because they are so analog. But they still have modern touches. Like we have a lot of experience with old cars, and old cars are great, classics are great, but there are, if we're honest, there are certain things you live with. Like you're driving on the highway and the doors are shut and the windows are shut and you're getting blasted in the face with wind and you get rocks in your face. Like, you know, that's just, it's charming. However, you know, like 90s cars are great, they work right, and they're pretty cheap right now.
Yeah.
A lot of them. But they're starting to.
Well, so what else? What else? I have the
All right,
AMGs
so-
that we can.
all right, so wait a minute, I
We
have
can
a
buy
list.
almost across the board,
Hold on a
with the
second.
I looked at
exception of
the
the wagons. The wagons are still up. a
Let's
bit.
start splashy. So I was fishing around. Let's start high. 10-year-old Bentley Arnages. They all have like 25,000 miles on them. You basically pay $1 per mile on the odometer. That's what they cost.
It's pretty amazing. All right, so this is the one that you...
And I recognize a water pump's a bit more expensive than a
Water
Bentley.
pump, dude, that's got to be $5,000. Like, what does a water pump cost
Yeah, but
for
what-
an Arnage?
But it's
What-
but it's
what
part of like
wasn't-
the sport, right? Of having like a rad ass car. Like you show up to your friend's house in your Bentley Arnage, and you know it's kind of like that water pump is worth that much,
Right,
isn't
so,
it?
So the one
Right?
he pulled
Come
up
on.
here is a red label. I forget one of them.
Red's
Red
a
label
turbo?
and green label were one of them was BMW source
BMW
parts,
source
right?
engine.
So yeah, if you go to Bentley and try to buy the water pump, it'd be $5,000. But
Right.
I'm sure there's some savvy Bentley owners that will like cross-reference the parts.
That's
so
true.
you go to Worldpack and get it, and it's like $50.
Well, just like the
So
Jag guys on Jag
DIY
forums.
shade-free mechanic on your Bentley. That's
Right.
that's the way to roll.
100%. Yeah. That it's definitely because there are cross parts.
Yeah.
There are guys that can fix the module when it gets corroded instead of buying a new like ABS module or whatever the hell it is.
And by the way, driving them is quite nice. I
Well,
have to
yeah.
say.
But
The
this
experience-
one is under $30,000. Buy it now.
And he said
And I think it's
under
or best
30,000
offer.
miles.
Or best offer.
It's almost no miles. What is it? Oh, 33,000 miles.
That's
Still.
just broken in.
Yeah, I mean, like,
You know? Seriously. How many problems you're going to run into things because it hasn't been driven too much. Maybe you have a little bit of dry rot and seals and bushings, but maybe not. You know, it's white, so it's probably from Florida. It's always in nice warm temperatures. Like, yeah, man.
Well, okay. Well, dampers.
Don't
I'm
get a white
sure
one, though.
expensive. I mean, just the shock. God, I can't.
Says
even
the guy
imagine.
driving a Jaguar.
I mean, I'm just taking it one day at a time with that thing.
Seriously
but
though,
this
if
is
you have
how
a
you do
little,
it.
listen, all you need these days is like an internet connection, a little bit of YouTubeage,
And
you
a
got
fan
it.
forum.
Right?
Yeah.
The forum
People
guys.
build rocket ships. Off
just
of
remember that guy
instructions
that
on
replaced
eBay.
his own AMG motor.
Exactly.
Every time you look at your broken, depreciated car, just remember that guy.
And hope the transmission doesn't go too.
Yeah.
All right. So what's next?
Saturns, super
No,
cheap.
oh, no,
Lovely
I
cars.
I
Great.
got one for you.
Love them.
Kind of. So great sounding car, pretty good looking car. Kind of crappy, but you will look amazing.
That's any car, buddy.
2008 Maserati Granturismo.
Amazing.
Oh,
We had one from
Yeah.
brand new. What was it? About 120 grand?
Yeah. 34 grand for this one,
And-
and, there's
and,
no miles.
you
There's
know,
literally no miles.
You get that Ferrari-derived drivetrain.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
got a Ferrari V8 in it.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, I rate that car. You know, it's not a sports car. It's pretty
GT car.
big GT car, but proper back seat. You can
Yep.
put adults in the back seat.
Yeah.
It does have an incredible sounding motor.
Does.
It handles like a large car, but it still has sharp steering.
I
It's great.
always like the quirkiness of it. Like, you know, it had like it's one of the it has a hard drive in the stereo system, right? Like so you could like download all your
you could
music
put
to it.
your mini SD card in
And you
load
can
your music
control
in.
everything from this. Like, there's like 6 sets of buttons behind the steering wheel, in front of. Like, I never knew how any of it worked, but it didn't matter because when you were behind the wheel of it, it's actually quite lovely. It was
Yeah.
good. Looked great. We had one in black.
I mean, it's like it's got a sense of occasion.
It does.
It
It does have a
sound-
sense
I
of
mean,
occasion.
again, it sounds.
So how much is that
phenomenal.
one?
34 grand.
So 34 grand, and you take your gal out to the local diner, and you can just park it on the sidewalk out front. No one's going to give you a hard time.
I think that's
the,
amazing.
my Maserati.
the valet
If
at
I-
the diner is going to park it right up front.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Right near the 67 Belvedere. That
See you in
pulled up.
Lodi, New Jersey. And, yeah,
I think that's a good buy.
I think it's a really
I
good
mean,
buy.
not my favorite car in the world, but I'm almost tempted to buy one of those. I mean, it's
41
great.
1,000
my only
miles.
criticism of that car ever is the suspension felt like it was made of wood. And when you're on a nice road, it's
Yeah,
made
well,
for
that-
nice roads. It was fantastic, but you drive it through like,
Yeah, I
some
actually forgot about
ill-equipped
that. I
roads.
took ours back to Ferrari twice because I thought something was broken. In the rear.
Yeah, it's just
But-
the way
but-
it is.
but-
But,
but-
430s felt the same way.
Yeah, I
430
mean,
Ferraris
the-
felt the same way.
There's a reason for that, though. It's Italian, and
Right.
Italians. What makes them so great is they're uncompromising. Like they don't design to the marketing compromise of most cars. They say we want this car to be handled amazing on the track,
It's pretty good Russian accent.
And when you get I know Russian accent. we want to
Skoda.
when you have great smooth roads. It is
Excellent.
amazing,
Yeah.
but you get on an uneven road surface. All the parts are moving in different directions.
Yeah.
But they're like, we don't care about that. You're not supposed to drive it on shitty
Right.
roads.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't treat our car like that.
And our experience with it wasn't too bad mechanic-wise. Like,
no,
it was,
I mean
it
it had
worked.
weird stuff like the stereo went buzzy once, and like it was.
That's what you get with an Italian car.
And I think we put a lot of miles on it. Like
By the way,
70
cheap
or
cars,
80,000 probably.
cheap cars. I don't know if it's cheap or not, but Fiat 500 Abarth, is that cheap?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
they're super
I
cheap.
mean, that's a great
I don't
car.
think it's appreciated quite 70%, but it's
Right.
definitely like 12 grand.
Give it
instead
6
of-
more weeks.
6 more weeks.
We're there.
They're
Those
fun.
are highly
Yeah.
underappreciated cars.
I don't love the seating position. It's up
It's
here.
like driving a little bus.
It is.
tiny-
The steering wheel's kind of flat.
a circus
like a
bus.
classic
Woo!
And they were like, put 6 more inches under the seat. You're really up there. But,
It
you know.
sounds great, but you're driving like either like you expect a bunch of clowns to jump out, but you're driving them.
It does beg you to thrash it.
Yeah,
Zach
it
and I
does.
drive with mechanical
All right.
sympathy, but not in that.
Okay, here's the obvious one. Let's just get the obvious one out of the way. Also,
Yeah,
2008
V10
BMW
M5.
M5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those are on the heels of 100 grand new, right?
Yeah, absolutely,
Pretty close.
really close. Yeah,
Wow.
especially spec'd up. I mean,
And we've owned a couple of those. We've owned E39s. Obviously E39 keeps coming back as a favorite. But
I've always liked this one. No one, it's not everybody's favorite,
E39s
but I like
are
it.
appreciating now. E39s are now in the
Yeah.
appreciation
Yeah.
curve. So there's no.
And they're just, we always said those the best 4-door sports sedan.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I get into an E39 lately and I'm like, starting to feel a little old for me.
26.8.
26.8, buy it now.
That's
Yeah.
a good car to own for
And
26.
and again, well, not my favorite. You feel the weight of the car; it's a bit big.
You do feel the
You
weight of
do
the
feel
car.
like kind of how heavy the suspension is, everything. But that motor is crazy. I mean,
I always liked
kind of
its-
F1 sounding V10.
I always like the throttle response in that car, like throttle and brakes. I don't think it's the prettiest M5 they've ever made. As Zach says, you do feel the weight of it, but if you drive it like with a momentum style and carry that weight through corners,
But
man, it's cool.
it really has a completely different ethos than the E39 had.
Yeah.
It's like they changed the engineering brief almost completely, and
Yeah.
they made it like it's almost like they sort of went after AMG's theater
Oh, that's
a
good
little
point.
bit more,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the E39 was a really
felt
kind of
lightweight,
tight.
and the chassis has so much spring
Yeah,
to it.
exactly, right.
Yeah.
But this one is an occasion, right? So it's
Yeah,
another
it is.
occasion car.
If you ever
It's a
heard one
big
with,
car.
with an aftermarket exhaust on it, they are insane
Yeah.
sounding.
Yeah.
I mean, it really sounds like a
Where are
early
M6s from the
2000s.
same generation?
It's a good point. You can actually
probably
put
around
that
the same,
in there.
same money, yeah.
M6 is
We-
like the GTO of BMW, though.
Zach and I, we shared one for a bit. That was a great car. The only thing I didn't like about it was you got like 12 miles to the gallon. I felt a little guilty driving that thing around, but
All right.
rad car nonetheless.
Here's one for me. I don't know if you guys concur with this, but
Yeah.
2006 Jaguar Xkr.
You're just looking for that Jag sponsor money, aren't you?
I mean, if they back up the Brinks truck, they can bring it right in
No,
here.
that's a great sports car. Kind of like a GT. It's exactly what a Jag sports car should be.
Yeah.
You know?
It's
Ian
one-
Callum design. It's 2006, so they worked out all the issues with the 4-liter. Actually, this is a 4.2 liter at this point.
It's very pretty, isn't it?
It's gorgeous, and I mean, it wasn't a $100,000 car. New, it was in the 70s.
Yeah, but even when it
And
was
how
new,
much
we
is
were
it
like,
now?
that's just a really good DB9 that's a little cheaper.
Wow.
23 grand, and it's low mileage too, and really, really, really good base of fans, right, and enthusiasts that are super helpful. I mean, anytime I have an issue with the Jag, they're just great. I mean, they always chime in, and they always help.
And for all intents and purposes, generally great car. I mean, I remember the Top Gear when Clarkson drove it, and they were chasing it around the track with an AM V8, new one.
Yeah.
And which was, even at the time, new. I think the Aston was double the price
Yeah.
of the Jag, and he couldn't find a fault with the Jag compared to the Aston. It was great.
The Jag
looks great, sounds great.
Ford
seems to
spent
perform great.
Ford spent like $8 billion getting Jag to this point. All right, one more AMG to go along with yours, the CL600, because this car is completely batshit. Nobody buys the V12,
I
right?
love that it has no B pillar.
Like,
Like
exactly.
old classic muscle
It's
car.
gorgeous,
So cool.
right?
It's cool.
But I mean, who buys V12?
we
Mercedes?
should have one in the classic car club, to be honest with you. 'cause
You
that's a
kind of should.
badass car.
But I
I don't
mean,
even like Mercedes, and it's a badass car.
Weren't those like insanely expensive?
Yeah,
again?
insanely
Like-
expensive.
Like this is 22 grand buy it now. Isn't
Yeah.
that like 15% of the asking
yeah,
price
this
or
is.
something?
I mean, this
That's
is
what
like
the wheels cost when it was new.
85% depreciation.
Yeah,
easily.
that's a great car.
Yeah.
So it's 22 grand. I mean, granted, like anything happens to that engine.
But hang on, though. It is a Mercedes, and a lot of things aren't going to happen to that engine. They make really good cars. This is from the era when things were all made pretty well.
Except the
Yeah.
electronics. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
remember 2004 E-classes?
Yeah.
I mean, they were, all right, anyway.
Yeah, we had a 2000 AMG Mercedes that we put a lot of miles on, and it was getting to the point where drivetrain was great. You can't fault the engine transmission, but then the windows would just like go down on their own.
Well, that's when you turn into a rat
rod.
rod.
Yeah.
Right.
The new Rusty McSlamington.
Exactly.
Roll
Rip
down
all that
windows,
shit out.
make
Just
it
keep
lighter,
the engine.
faster, better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, CL600, a supercar for $23,000.
Buy a cheap car, buy a great car, send us 5%.
Yeah. And one last one as a
Oh.
wild card, real quick.
Third generation Range Rover. They're really cheap. If that's your thing, if you don't want a sports car and you got to like tow people around, you could get a really nice one for like $7,000.
Really?
Yeah, they're really cheap. Because
I mean,
So walk us
like
through the
two
third
generations.
generation was the last of the.
It was the one that had like the slab on the side, that vent thing. It still looks like, it's still cool. Again, you know what? They'll park it out front in the
Like
diner.
2002 or something.
Yeah, 10
diner.
years old. A little older than that.
Yeah.
Or a little newer than that. But they're cheap.
All right.
They're cheap.
70% depreciation cars. updated for 2017.
And there's more and more and more. So put
Yeah.
all your suggestions
Yeah.
in the comments. Tell us what we don't know. But
Yeah.
there's lots of them out there. Great cars to buy for 30% of their asking price.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put them in the comments. Go to thedrive.com, and I'll put the link to the article that goes along with this down there, so you can read that. And you know,
Send us your picks too. I always
Yeah,
like reading
absolutely.
the picks. Educate me.
yeah,
Cool.
exactly.
All right.
That's After Drive for today. Michael Priccinello, Zach Mosley from the Classic Car Club, Manhattan,
Monkey too.
and Monkey is asleep. We put Monkey to sleep,
Audience,
just like we put you to
audience measurement tool.
sleep. Monkey's asleep. You're asleep.
Yeah, we're
Wake up and turn off your browser. So that's anyway. Bye.